Hello, General Biology. This is our population dynamics video, so let's begin. Population dynamics means changing or changes in populations. And so we can see here's two different populations being graphed together, the hare and the lynx. And we can say that there are changes going on during the years with the hare population and the lynx population. We're going to talk more about what contributes to those changes. Our first concept is carrying capacity. Carrying capacity is the largest population for a species that can survive in the ecosystem. Now, that doesn't stop them from growing. That doesn't stop them from reproducing. They will reproduce past carrying capacity, and then some of them die because they can't all survive. And the survivors will reproduce, and then some of them die because they can't survive. And so usually when a population is at carrying capacity, it actually goes above and below and above and below and below, above and below. And so it hovers around carrying capacity. So that's carrying capacity. Now, what defines carrying capacity? Carrying capacity is determined by limiting factors. Limiting factors are any influence in the ecosystem that stops a population from growing. And they can be divided into two categories: abiotic or non-living limiting factors, and biotic or living limiting factors. And abiotic is usually resources or conditions in the environment, like gases in the air, or availability of water or light, or too much wind or too little wind, or soil quality, or acidity or alkalinity, or temperature, or how much salt is, or how humid it is, or any of these other kind of environmental non-living factors. Now, biotic is relationships with other organisms, so they could compete with other organisms. They can be eaten by other organisms. They could be infected by other organisms. So whatever interactions in the environment that are contributing to their death, those are limiting factors, and they can come in biotic or abiotic types. Now, this all contributes to another idea called homeostasis. Now, this word homeostasis can be applied to lots of situations. It means maintaining a stable state. And cells can maintain a stable state. Bodies, organisms can maintain a stable state. And we're talking about it from an ecology perspective. So let's take a look at that hare and lynx situation again. Now, it looks like there's lots of sharp rises and falls, and rises and falls, and rises and falls, and rises and falls. And that's true for both the hare and the lynx population. And even though they're spiky, we would say that these populations are at equilibrium over a long term, because though it rises, it falls, and rises, it falls, so they're kind of stable right at this middle layer, this middle level. So this is at equilibrium. When it gets too high, population decreases. When the population is low, it rises again. And so they're maintaining a balance. They're maintaining ecological equilibrium and population equilibrium at this middle stage. Now, so let's talk about those populations. We talk about all these factors that influence the carrying capacity and help the population grow or help the population rise. But let's get very precise. Let's get very specific. Populations increase only under two circumstances. If there's reproduction, if there are births, then the population goes up. If organisms move into the ecosystem for that species, then they are immigrating and the population goes up. Conversely, there's only two things that can cause a population to go down. Lots of things can influence it, but only two reasons that the population goes down. If organisms die, population decreases. And if organisms emigrate, then they leave the area, then the population goes down. That's it. Now, all these other factors can influence this, but these are the only two things that actually cause populations to go down. So let's review. A population is the number of organisms of a species living within an ecosystem. Carrying capacity is the largest population for a species that can survive in the ecosystem. Anything past that will die. Limiting factors are influences that prevent a population from growing, and they can be both biotic, living factors, or abiotic, non-living factors. Homeostasis means maintaining a stable state. When applied to ecosystems, it's basically the same as equilibrium. However, it can also be used to describe populations or organisms or cells.
when populations will increase when organisms reproduce or immigrate into the ecosystem, and populations will decrease when organisms die or emigrate out of the ecosystem. I hope this helps. Struggle well.